This is Gilles Mancier. I wanted to come and say hello, to wish you a good day, to pull out a few cards. I wanted to, then I will discuss a little bit, just to share some ideas about art. For today, the highest wisdom for us today is achievement. For we need to achieve what we are seeking ourselves to achieve. In order to achieve freedom, liberation, there is always a price to pay. It is sometimes something we need to do to adjust within ourselves. For if we already have that, then we only work on those parts that are not functional. For everything, there's many things that are already functional within our life. We have to understand how much do we need to change on a professional level, how much do we need to change on a spiritual level, how much do we need to change on the emotional level, how much do we need to change on a sentimental level. For there is certain parts that are already working perfectly. Sometimes the detail of what is not working can be a bit overwhelming, but we have to know how much we need to change what, and then take the problems one at a time. Do not try to fix the whole, to change everything. Just change one little thing every day, and then we'll achieve what we need to achieve. What is the understanding that we need to gain is the notion of efforts. Is about producing the right efforts in order to achieve the right result. What we need to do is destiny, is to put our creator shoes on and to walk with those shoes, to embrace the highest potential. Where there is the greatest joy is where we are of the highest service. The more we find joy, freedom, self-empowerment is really where the path is at. It's really where spirituality is at. It is not in frustration, it is not in anger, it is not in the contrasting world of this dual world, but it is the unity, within the unity of the light. For the light is one. There is only one great light. For the world is made of electrons and photons. Those are complementary particles. The photons are the light of the sun, and the electrons are the mass material, the mass of the material universe that is created from the earth and created this amazing physical bodies which allows us to participate in this great experience of life. And we got to understand that anything that prevents us from experiencing true freedom, true enjoyment, true bliss is fear. For anything that may conscious or unconscious fear, but life starts where fear ends. And the general message for us is action. For it is time to act. For when it is, sometimes it is time for non-action, and sometimes it is time for action. And action and non-action are two complementary. We got to move from action into non-action, into action into non-action, and it is the harmonious and gracious connection between the path of action and the path of non-action that lead us on our way, or that is makes it more comfortable. Because if we're always in action, we're always agitated. So we have to learn to step out in order to return to the action when the time comes. The card of the day today is intuition. From the angel card, it is a card of intuition. So it is about following the prompting of that we feel inside those little, they're very soft voices sometimes, very quiet voice, but it's for subtle energies. We have to follow that. We have to attune to that. It is very important, because the more we anchor those subtle energy, the more space they take into our life, and then life reveals itself through this inner light that we are able to produce. I wanted to speak very briefly about art. For anyone who wants to see my paintings right now, the only place that I can show it is here in Normandy, in Caen. If you are in the area, you would like to see my painting, leave me a note. We'll make an appointment. We'll have tea, and I'll show you a little bit what I have. But I'm hoping soon to return to my first career. For when I was a child or a teenager, there was two painters that really stagger my mind, that created this great fire within my imagination. One is Picasso, the other one is Dali. Then I went into art school. I discovered the rest of them in France, and then in America. Then I opened an art gallery in Santa Monica, then another one in Santa Fe, then moved to New York. I was an art broker, then I came back to LA. And then eventually my own paintings became important to me. For a very long time I've been painting, and I'm hoping to be able to reopen a gallery where I will be able to present not just my own work, but any kind of work that is aligned with the energies of what I'm trying to, of what I like, because as a dealer you only show what you like. In many sense there is no right or wrong, but in many sense there is, in the art world, there is a lot of this cult of death. The death culture is very prominent, and there is also There is also some bad test, but there is also something that the art schools have been teaching is to become image maker, to create images. So it's there is some very clever image, but in order for art to be solid and lasting in time, it has to be a lot of soul and spirit. You have to involve your heart into the process of creation, otherwise it's just a mental concept, and it gets very boring really quickly. And so in many sense, I see now with the telephone, photographic telephone and Photoshop, there is thousands, millions of artists that are making some very clever images. I see them on Instagram or social media or internet. But sometimes those images are not necessarily art. They bring you they're just funny or they show something that may be of interest, but once you get it, there is nothing more to discover from that. For art has to have a mystery, it has to capture the imagination for a very long time. And that is the philosopher named Hegel that studied this concept in depth. For him, art has to have new value, has to bring something new to the picture, and those values have to last through time. Another philosopher that studied the idea of aesthetic was Immanuel Kant. For, of course, at the time there was no abstract art, but for him we have to separate what is beautiful and what is enjoyable. For what is beautiful for everybody. What is good for everybody. But what we enjoy ourselves is very particular to ourselves. It is depending on our taste and frequency, and so it is good to know ourselves, to know what we like, and to go towards what we like, and to allow all the rest to fall to the wayside. So it is important to select those things that make us feel good. And so art is there is art history starts with Giorgio Vasari. If you're interested in this, there is this marvelous book from the 16th century of Giorgio Vasari. It's called The Lives of the Artists. I read it in New York in the 80s. I thought it was really, really wonderful. Although it is not an expert, Vasari is a great art critic. But when we study art to acquire old master paintings, we have come to discover that the text of Giorgio Vasari are not always historical. They are sometimes fantasies that he imagined, and so there is a little fantasy in Giorgio Vasari. So it is not an expert, but he really gives you the idea of this understanding of this Renaissance. For this Renaissance that came in Italy was really wonderful. It opened up the mind of the humanity to something else. Yet it was at the time it was mostly the propaganda of the Catholic Church that needed to reinforce its own power. And in that sense, many of the collectors that collect old master paintings are more interested by mythological subject or like subject rather than Madonna's and Child and Christ, and because those were not really. It's more like museum paintings. They're beautiful paintings, but the subject matter is so it's all relative. Everything is relative, but. Studying art is wonderful because you always learn new things, and being an art broker for 30 years, I maybe one day I'll write a book about the million anecdotes and crazy things that you experience when you in this work. Behind me is a painting of cosmology. It's a cosmological model of the seven super universe, the Paradise Center, which is the only stable. The only stable sphere of reality within the whole universe. Well, it's an elliptical sphere, it's not really a sphere, but everything moves around it. This paradise is the only stable, it's the only thing stable in the whole universe of universes. And there are 21 satellites of paradise, which are residential for those seven internal. And then above there is the seven great families of spirit beings. For those paintings, I hope to show very soon. Hopefully. I will be able to do traveling shows around the world. I'm working on it, so and I hope you will come when the time comes to see them in person. I'm going to finish with a little song. It's a French song that's been this English version of a French song. It's a very romantic song. I've always been very romantic. It's just a matter of preferences, but I've always romance have always taken a really big part in my life, although it's not something I communicate for the most part because it is something very personal. It's part of the personal life, and when I speak of unconditional love, I speak more about friendship and the ability to love life, but when I talk about unconditional love, it's not about sexual love. It's not like you desire to you want to embrace the world with your love, but it has to be it is more like friendship, and there is this great philosopher that comes to see me regularly in my meditation now. It's called Epicure, and so we've developed this friendship. He's a good guide and teacher. I've also had allowing to share that. It was about 2-3 months ago. I woke up in the morning with this great being of light in front of me, and I recognized the god of light, the god of the arts, Apollon. And his message to me was he wanted me to master all the 7 arts. For what is art? Art is originally art is a know-how for in the antiquity. Doctors were practicing in the art of medicine. The warriors were practitioners in the art of war. The philosophers were practicing in the art of philosophy, and then the sculptors were practitioners of the art of sculpting the marble. So all of it was art. Basically, it was just a know-how, and then eventually it was defined as 7 art of the intellectual art, such as those are the arts that I will have to address and bring my own stone to the edifice. For in painting, I think I've already done that. For 30 years I've been painting. Sculpture, I have some wonderful sculpture I've never shown, but I will very soon move into larger sculpture as well. Then there is architecture. I also plan to express myself through that eventually. But then there is music, dance, and poetry. And then we can add theatrical art, so all those things, movies and things, so all those things are means by which man can sublimate itself, can discover higher level of beauty. For beauty is something that is in the eye of the beholder, so we cannot impose the view on any sort of beauty, but in many sense there is some objective standards in beauty. For we 99% of the humanity will find something beautiful or will not find something not beautiful. It is something that is we don't know really where it comes from, but it's something natural and spontaneous that when we look at nature, we should be able to find that beauty, and so in many sense, something that there was Emmanuel Kant that said something that is beautiful for everybody, but then what that which is likable, that we like, is not necessarily that which is good, but it's that which we like. So those are the very different kind of approach, but in a sense. Art is really something that was given to man to expand his consciousness, and I hope that I know that we are moving into a new time of renaissance, a rebirth of the whole. For it to be renaissance, rebirth, there has to be a death, and in many sense, most of this death culture, these image makers, for art to have lasting value, you have to imply your heart and your soul. But if it's only a mental concept, then it may be clever, but it will not last very long, and so I see also that I want to encourage, of course, all form of creativity, and I see that now everybody's got a camera and say, well, I'm an artist, I take a photo, click like merci Kodak, thank you to Kodak, because without it's more technology than an art form, yet it can become an art form if photography can become an art form, but with Photoshop, it's like there is all kinds of things that are being created. Yet most of those things, once we've seen it, it's like you've discovered that, like, for art to have a long-lasting value, there has to be a mystery. There has to be something that you need to keep on searching. The more you look at it, the more you seek to find, and then there is a process of interaction that is last. I remember when I opened my gallery in 1984 in Santa Monica, I was discussing with a major art agent in San Francisco. I was bringing some art from San Francisco to LA, and she said something quite intelligent. I was talking about when the artist said, well, he's a great artist. Say, well, no, we'll know in 300 years if he was a great artist, because we do need that much time to figure out the meaning and significance of an artist within art history. So it does take some time before anybody can take his place, then take their own place within the because most of the art market, I love the art market, it's my passion, I love it, but there is manipulated market. Let's say that somebody buys a $1 million pen because they say, well, it's a pen that used to belong to Marcel Duchamp, and I'm selling $1 million pen for $1 million each, and so I buy this pen for $1 million. I'm a collector, I've listened to the artist, and now I decide, well, well, there's going to be another pen that's going to be going at auction for $1 million, but I'm going to buy $10 million, so my first pen will be worth $10 million as well. It does not mean that this pen will be ever worth $1 million, except it is a mental construction. So it does take some time we're going to have to reevaluate not just art, but the whole world system of economy and what is worth, what has value. There is all kinds of things but most of those things I will need to address, but I feel it will be more precise to do it by writing, to write books, so it can be studied and understood rather than just speaking about those things. Well, I hope this video was interesting for you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm going to finish with this little song. It's called If You Go Away. If you go away on this summer day, then you might as well take the sun away. All the birds that flew in the summer sky, when our love was new and our hearts were high, and the day was young and the nights were long, and the moon stood still for the nightbird's song. If you go away, if you go away, if you go away, but if you stay, I'll make you a day like no day has been or will be again. We'll sail the sun, we'll ride on the rain, we'll talk to the trees and fly with the wind. But if you go away, when I love you so, there'll be nothing left in this world, you know. Just an empty room full of empty space, like the empty look I see on your face. If you go away, if you go away, if you go away, but if you stay, I'll make you a day like no day has been or will be again. We'll sail the sun, we'll ride on the rain, we'll talk to the trees and fly with the wind. But if you go away, if you go away, please don't go away. Well, thank you very much. I wish you a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Namaste.